Hello, fools. We get an opportunity now to spend the next 35 or 40 minutes or so with the co-founder and CEO of Rubrik, ticker symbol RBRK. It's a market cap about $16.25 billion, listed on the NASDAQ. It came public really just back in the spring of 2024, so maybe about a year and a half in the public markets. And we're so happy to have Bipul Sinha here with us to spend this time together. Thank you very much for joining us. And we have John Quast and Andy Cross as well. And I'm just going to start out right away, right out of the gate, without even letting you say hello, and just say, assume breach. Tell us what that means to Rubrik and its clients.
If you look at the last 20, 30 years of cybersecurity, it was all about prevention and detection of attacks. And Tom, the world has changed. You can't prevent the unpreventable, and we see so many cyber attacks. So our vision is assume that attacks will happen to you. Assume that breaches are inevitable. And you need to have cyber resilience to be able to keep your businesses up and running even when the cyber attacks happens. So understanding of the risk and able to remediate is what Rubrik does.
And just a sort of broad overview, let's take public companies. Let's say, let's just take the S&P 500. To what extent, scale of 1 to 100, do you think that those S&P 500 companies are sufficiently cyber resilient?
Look, the cyber resiliency is everybody's goal, but people need a new technology platform to deliver cyber resiliency. Most of the Fortune 500 companies are on legacy platform. And it feels good to have a legacy platform because you're familiar with it is for the last 10, 20, 30 years. But having good feeling doesn't generate cyber resilience. And we are working with a number of Fortune 500 companies that are transforming their cyber resiliency posture by bringing purpose-built platform to ensure that their business is operational even when they had a successful cyber attack.
Mm. And so maybe just walk us through, and then I'll yield the floor to John and Andy, who will ask better questions. But just walk us through what happens on the Rubrik platform. Let's say that there's a new company, one of the Fortune 100 companies that hasn't been working with Rubrik signs up with them, and they're going to begin their experience using Rubrik. What happens now because they're with you?
So what we do, step one is work with their IT operations team and cybersecurity team, and we transform their legacy backup and recovery platform into a data security platform to deliver cyber resilience. And so as part of the data backup process, we process all the incoming data and assess a clean recovery time by looking for malware, looking for cyber attack, looking for sensitive content, so that as soon as attack happens, the people are ready to recover and bring their services back up and running. This whole thing we call preemptive recovery engine. And that technology, preemptive recovery engine, underpins our Rubrik Security Cloud. That's what we instantiate across all our customers.
You bring up the difference between legacy versus purpose-built. I've heard you talk before about AI native companies versus a different kind of company. Maybe you could speak to that. What does it mean to be AI native, and why is that important?
Every time there is a technology shift and a new narrative gets built up for a new space, every one of the companies just takes that narrative and puts that sticker. You can look around. Every company is now AI-powered company. But when you say something is AI native, which essentially means that if you take AI out of the equation, the company's product becomes useless. And that is the test whether something is AI native or cloud native or, for example, whatever native, that if you take that thing out, it becomes useless.
Bipul, can you talk a little bit to us when you talk to clients and you go out to talk about your solutions, the biggest challenges they're facing right now, up and down from the small to the large, that is evolved into the marketplace in a way that you can best serve those challenges?
Andy, that's a very insightful question, because if you look at the data and application landscape of any major corporation, it is massive. But the fundamental question that every IT leader has to answer is, when cyber attacks are successful and their CEO is asking the question, are we up and running? What are the minimum set of services that they need to have up and running to declare business to be operational? And this is what we call minimal viable business. What are the minimum set of services that has to be operational and up and running for them to declare that they are back in business? And this is what we help CIOs and CISOs and CTOs to identify, create a ring fence around it, and deliver true cyber resiliency across this set of services. Once we do this transformation, business have confidence that they are going to be an ongoing operation, and then think about this as concentric circle 0. And then we go circle 1, circle 2, circle 3 over time to transform the whole organization.
What is the time saved using Rubrik to get the business back in action versus a company that's not using Rubrik? Is there a effective way to measure that?
Definitely. So Tom, what we fundamentally do is we have a preemptive recovery engine. What preemptive recovery engine does is during the regular course of operations, we pre-process all the data and look for all the threats so that as soon as attack happens, you are ready to recover. There is no post-processing in Rubrik's platform. And post-processing could take several weeks to several months. You have seen examples of Change Health, MGM, Mark & Spencer. When you are breached, you are down for weeks unless you have preemptive recovery engine. And that is the difference between whether you are up and running in hours or maybe maximum a day to weeks and months.
And where do you find that there are the primary security breaches are happening? How is that dynamic shifting? And maybe how quickly does it shift? I mean, should one expect that the way a business is hacked will be very different 3 years from now, 18 months from now, 3 months from now? What's the pace of change and how responsive is the Rubrik system to that change?
Cybersecurity is the most active area of IT because unlike other parts of IT, which is about productivity, which is about speed, cybersecurity is about defeating or at least keeping ahead of an active adversary who could be sitting in North Korea and other places. And there are two main changes that has happened in cybersecurity. One is cybersecurity used to be a bored teenager sitting in their parents' basement and trying to show middle finger to largest corporations and governments. It has gone from that into a destructive cyber, where a cyber criminal is encrypting your data and asking you for ransom to be able to keep your business up and running. So that's the number one change. Number two change is cybersecurity has gone from somebody hacking into your system versus these threat actors logging into your systems by stealing your credentials. So credential compromise and credential-based attack, identity-based attack, is become the number one attack vector. If you think about your data and securing your data, what is the most critical part is the characteristics of the data plus the identity of the threat actor, who has access to what data and who is doing what to the data, legal or illegal, to be able to decipher how much risk you have. And now think about AI. You asked Tom how is going to change. AI is 100 times more opportunities and 100 times more risk. Let's talk about risk. Now a threat actor can do 10x more damage in 1/10 of the time. You may be wondering, how is that possible? The difference between pre-AI and this new agentic world is, pre-AI, if somebody got your credentials, maximum they can do is to steal your data or encrypt your data. Post-AI, now somebody sitting in North Korea can run your business operations. For example, they can actually do customer refunds. So they are running business operations as opposed to stealing or encrypting data. That's the huge difference. So we are in this whole new world of risk. Obviously, lots of opportunities as well because of AI, but the risk is tremendous.
And so, Bipul, I hear you saying that this is a fast-changing world, and I've heard you talk about how the company itself needs to be fast-changing to address the fast-changing world, and maybe you could just speak to a little bit how you are going about creating a culture at Rubrik that embraces fast changes and embracing moving forward into these opportunities and risks?
John, that's a really insightful question, and you have to look at the rate of change of technology. It took Microsoft 25 years to become a household name. It took Google 4 years to become a household name. It took Facebook 2 years and ChatGPT 3 months. We are in an age of acceleration where product cycles are shrinking. When product cycles are shrinking, there is no product market fit. You have to reinvent your company every 6 to 9 months. And that company reinvention means that you have to always be at the edge. People talk about founder mode. Founder mode is necessary because you have to be a founder to reinvent the company every 6 to 9 months. So the culture has to be a way that you will always be a misunderstood company. You will always be an innovation company. You will be in love with the market as opposed to be in love with your technology, because your technology or product could go stale. So how do you create a culture where you are living on the edge with hundreds, if not thousands of people? How do you create a culture where people are not thinking about what they have, instead they're thinking about what does our customer need to succeed in this new era? And that is the cultural principles that Rubrik has created about relentless focus on the market, creating a culture of transparency. We are not BSing with each other and being happy about what we have. And then the culture of integrity, where how do we treat ourselves, each other well? How do we not lie to our partners and customers? And more importantly, most of all, is this relentless entrepreneurial energy to keep inventing the future.
Bipul, can you talk a little bit about the innovation on the product suite, how rapid you're bringing new products to the market for your clients, and when you're selling to the clients, is it a land and expand where you start with one maybe module, then they're expanding out on top of it as you kind of build out the dollar-based retention rate?
So Rubrik's strategy has always been a platform company. And platforms is a very misunderstood word. But in my mind, platform is that when you adopt more than one product from Rubrik, overall value of Rubrik increases. So for example, when we go to an enterprise and say, let me protect your identity system. And in the same customer, if we turn around and say, let me protect your cloud environment. Now we are protecting two environments. The value of Rubrik goes up and the platform goes up because now we can correlate for the customer threat on identity, some threat actor is active on identity, as well as a threat actor is active, or the same threat actor is active on the cloud data. Now we can correlate threat and give them holistic picture. As they add more products and solution, overall value of Rubrik goes up. Then only customer experiences 1 + 1 = more than 2, and they adopt more product. And that has been our strategy. We have multiple different product suite that we sell. Any product that customer buys instantiates Rubrik Security Cloud, and the rest of the expansion gets attached to the same Rubrik Security Cloud, so that you have a holistic platform, single screen, single policy engine to orchestrate and manage all your business applications and data.
And just a quick follow-up there. In a rapidly evolving environment like cybersecurity, is the product cycle development, is it happening daily where you're bringing new things to the markets? Is it happening yearly? Give us a sense of how rapid product development goes at Rubrik.
We are doing products very, very rapidly. In fact, Rubrik has two teams. One we call forward team, which is building and selling what has already been successful. And then the other team, what we call lateral team, their goal is to build new products or incubate new go-to-markets or do a small tuck-in acquisition and then incubate a product on that basis. They are happy selling 50K, 60K products while the core sales team is selling $500,000 or $1 million products. So we have both motions going. Having said all of that, we are selling to Fortune 500, Global 2000 companies. And we can't give them bleeding edge innovation that is exciting in terms of the capability, but not as great in terms of the adoption and operationalizing. So we always create a balance of give them the right product that they can find value on, but be 2 miles ahead of them so that they can see the value and adopt the product, as opposed to being 20 miles ahead of them and then saying that it's too raw for me or it's too far ahead of me that I can't even deal with.
When I have some of my favorite conversations in business, I find that the number of questions I have it multiplies during the conversation. So I'm in that difficult spot right now of wanting to take this in 14 different directions because there's so many interesting things you're sharing with us. I think I'll go with this. Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, said, our industry does not respect tradition. It only respects innovation. And it seems to me that Rubrik probably has a wonderful take on how much faster companies need to move than they are. You mentioned how many of the S&P 500 companies are on legacy systems. So I now see a natural tension that's existing for you in the marketplace that you're probably out warning the world and saying the way to be safe is to move faster into the future. And that might be contrary or counterintuitive, that the one that moves the fastest is the safest, is the most secure. When we think that systems and controls and the discipline of safety is about slowing things down. So maybe just talk a little bit, maybe philosophically, about the tension between moving quickly, what your clients are ready for in their product suite, and what you're capable of doing, and the warning that you have to businesses if they don't get moving at the pace they need to, let alone the competitive threats, just the pace they need to move at to remain secure.
Tom, this is something that is really close to my heart, this idea of speed. Let me tell you my original thinking about speed. I believe that there are no business modes anymore. Internet, information economy, now ChatGPT has flattened the information advantage. Now everybody has the same information. So who is the winner? The winner is the one who can take raw information, not fully formed information, devise a coherent plan and plan of action, and fast execute into the market. Because the time is the real differentiation, is the real moat. Because if the market is still figuring out what's going on, and if you have a product that you bring to the market and iterate with the market, then you have time advantage. And by the time the market catches up on you, you build the next version or the next product, so you keep ahead of the market. That's the only advantage in this day and age. So now think about a customer. Obviously, they have to think about the risk of their existing business and how do they manage that risk, because if they are not managing their business, they could be have a significant cost to the business. But at the same time, if they are not moving fast enough, they'll be out of business. They will have no chance to run the business. So that's the two things that they have to balance. But my view is that nobody has moved slowly and created a perfect risk management. There is no such thing as completely removal of the risk. Everybody has to think about acceptable level of risk. What is the acceptable level of risk that we need to take to be able to move fast and have a continuing business? Because otherwise your competition will run you over. And that's the business for every American business or every business around the globe. They have to think about what is an acceptable level of risk that allows me to move fast, to beat competition, to introduce innovation while managing this risk.
And a follow-up on that, you mentioned the advantage that a founder-run company, obviously with a visionary and a highly competent, maybe wild card personality, but the importance of having somebody who has the authority to go in and make decisions quickly, and how much of an advantage that is. I can't remember if it was Mark Zuckerberg that said this as he was transitioning in the IPO process for Facebook Meta and retraining all of their developers to be mobile developers. And that really hurt their earnings in the short term. And he said, we're not here to manage the next, a couple quarters. If we don't get to mobile, we won't exist. And that can be difficult in a board structure that, favors performance and reputation performance, sort of performative versus making the right decision right now. So I think I'd like to hear from you. Perhaps you've set things up culturally with the values and consistency of this from the earliest days of Rubrik. But if you've mastered it, could you help every other CEO that's trying to figure out how to run a company that's going to be, in your words, continually misunderstood if it's going to succeed?
First of all, if you look at the technology business, technology industry is an idea economy. There are no plants, there are no factories, there are no lands. It's ideas in the minds of all our people, all our rubricans who go home every day and then come back to work the next day. And all of their ideas are collectively what Rubrik's strategy, what is Rubrik's execution is. And that's true of every company, large or small. So now think about an environment where you are in an idea economy company, the ideas lives in people's head. How do you run your business? There is no authority or command and control. Just because you are the CEO, you can't impose your will on everybody. You need to use social capital. You need to use persuasion plus a visionary thinking. So if you look at the world is always in chaos. And everybody is looking for the leadership to give people a direction. So your job as a CEO is, with imperfect information, drive a strategy that this is where we are going. Create a North Star and bring clarity to people by saying, here are the 3 things we are going to do to get to that North Star. And communicate. Because when you are in this world of imperfect information and creating a North Star, you need for people to understand. You might have thought about this for months and months before you declared this new vision, but people heard it for the first time. They will not absorb it. So it's very important in a fast-changing world to create a North Star vision, simplify the steps towards it, and repeat, and be in front of people rather than once you told them and you disappeared. You have to be in front of people. You have to struggle with them, because struggle is progress.
I can't remember the title of the book, just dropping this in before we go to John, but I will cite it before the end of the interview to honor the author. But he came and spoke in our office and talked about the pace of change and brought somebody up on stage, and this is to your point, Bipul, about you have to communicate what's in your mind. And he brings the individual up on stage in front of our whole company and says, I want you to think of a song that everyone here knows. And now I want you, on your fingers on the table, I want you to tap that song that everyone knows. And essentially the point he was making is everyone thinks they'll get it. It's Mary Had a Little Lamb. Everybody, like everybody knows that, but no one can guess it. And his point is simply the things that are moving around in your mind need to be explained in some detail and with some repetition.
Everybody's life is complex. People have families, parents, kids, schools. So you have to simplify. Simplify doesn't mean that you dumb it down. Simplify means that you are allowing people to absorb it and internalize it. There is a difference between listening and internalizing. The true progress happens when you internalize ideas. That becomes your living experience.
I love that. I'm trying to get that internalized into myself so I can apply it in my own life. Thank you for that. I want to change gears a little bit here. We've been talking about the business, and I think it's a great discussion. I want to talk a little bit more of the investment angle. What I really like about your story is that you were an investor, and now you're a founder CEO. And I watched an interview from years ago where you were talking about identifying value creation in a business and what you're looking for as an investment. Just curious if you could speak to maybe a little bit of that, what you look for when it comes to businesses that are creating value, and then how you've brought that mindset into leading Rubrik.
John, people often tell me that I'm a unique creature. I'm 3 things. I'm an engineer, I'm an investor, I'm also a founder CEO. And I bring all 3 skills together as I think about business. Because business is about building, finding markets, and scaling business. So when I was a full-time investor, my whole idea was that do you have a unique perspective of the market? And unique perspective by its definition has to be unique and non-consensus. Because if everybody understands and agrees with your idea, then it's not unique. So my rule of thumb is if you have an idea that 70% of the people find it neutral or negative, or which means they don't agree with it, and then 30% of the people are hardcore supporters of that idea and passionate about that idea, then that is the right idea. If 90% of people agrees with your idea, just run away from that idea because there is no merit or there is no business in that idea. Because again, the differentiation or the business value is in the time. And while 70% of people don't agree with your idea, means that you will have time to build and nobody else will chase you into it. And that's how the business is created. So I was always looking for unique individuals who had unique perspectives about the market and seeing that do they have what it takes in terms of grit and ability to take the ups and downs of a startup to be able to achieve that vision.
Bippo, back to some of the go-to-market strategy. Talk about the relationships or the changing relationship dynamics with your channel partners. Has that shifted since you become a public company? Is that market evolving, changing on how Rubrik is actually getting products through the channels into the end user?
We started Rubrik as a 100% channel company where our sales team sells the products along with the channel sales team and fulfills through the channel. We continue to be a 100% channel company. We are in some ways indirect sales company. Mm-hmm. And I have this, when we started the company, we were taking on giants of the enterprise. And I felt that a small company in California can't take on giants unless we create a big army of the willing. And the way to create army of the willing is to enlist channel partners and create appropriate margin structure for them so that they are motivated to take your product into their trusted customers and organization. Mm-hmm. And that has been our kind of like modus operandi, and this is how we run our business. As we see cloud transformation, AI transformation, the new AI enterprise, if you think about it, there are so many changes are happening that even the Fortune 500 leaders need consultative sales process, somebody who is trusted advisor to tell them about where the market is and what is the right set of technology. So I believe that the channel partners, whether it's GSI, whether it's reseller partners or regional VARs or regional system integrators, they continue to be very important because as the customers have more choices and more transformation, they need more help to streamline their understanding of the marketplace and being able to, again, deliver a product and business strategy.
And Bippo, do you see that evolving, changing? Looking ahead, do you think the complexity will be such that the channel partners will just always be a big factor, a big driving factor in the sales process for Rubrik?
I believe that the channel partners and GSI partners will continue to be a very important part of our ecosystem. Yeah. Because of what you said, Andy, is the complexity and the consultative nature of an ability to have a trusted partner. Having said that, everything evolves. Yeah. And the evolution is you go from rack and stack and deploy, that was the last generation, to more of like how do you manage portfolio of services and risk, to how do you create a proprietary company-specific AI agents. So the model of delivery and the products will evolve, but the essential nature, the essence of it remains the same.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought as your solutions become more complex, in a good way, in a good way, to solve the complex problems that your end clients are seeing, that tighter relationship with those Fortune 500 companies will be a real advantage, and the opportunity to build and enhance that relationship will continue to be more and more in need as the complexity continues to evolve.
I mean, look, I would not call it complexity per se, but I would call it the width and
Yeah.
the number of services or the products that we are delivering is continues to increase because
Yeah.
we are a platform company. We are continuously adding newer and newer capabilities, and delivering these capabilities and creating value for our customers. That the last mile is very important, and
Sure.
that's where our partners come in. They help Rubrik and help the customers realize more value out of Rubrik platform on a continuous basis, and also build solutions on top of our platform. So again, this is a symbiotic relationship.
Thank you.
I want to respect your time, so we're coming to the end of our time here, but I wanted to screen share this and just, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the monitor that you're joining us on, Vipul, but this is our AI-powered scoring system for all public companies. Up here on the right, you can see that we have 3,400 companies scored. If we were to scroll down, we can see numbers. We also have multiple categories across, and we also have multiple databases. So we're essentially grabbing, in this case, more than 400 different data feeds and assigning scores to processing, thousands. Obviously, the ability now to process every 10K of every public company this year in 3 minutes and score them and compare them. It comes down to better investing is becoming more, in our opinion, about creating the right formula for evaluating businesses, and it starts with this formulaic approach across every company, and then it will now move down to each industry, because comparing a real estate investment trust to an oil field services business to a regional bank isn't going to work exactly perfectly with the number of formulas and the data feeds we're getting. We'll get industry level data feeds, et cetera. So the level of the layers of possibility, it's endless what can happen, and what we're trying to bring to our members device is the most insightful, broad, and deep information about the companies they're investing in with real-time updating to the scores. And the reason that I'm sharing this with you here now is that one of the ways, I think maybe the primary way I found Rubrik was by sorting according to the best technology companies with the best technology according to our scoring system in the market. So out of 3,400 companies, you see Rubrik here is number 18 out of 3,400 businesses. Then if we were to sort by AI, Rubrik's score is a 75, so it's a little bit lower. And again, it doesn't mean our formulas are perfect, but is number 146 out of 340. Okay, and then the last one I'll sort by is leadership. So again, out of all of these 3,400 companies, we come down, and Rubrik's leadership. This is, of course, your executive team, and your board being scored against every other public company, and every filing and bit of information we can get on everyone is an 89. Which sounds like a B plus, but in this database, it's number 90 out of 3,400, so it's very much a high A grade. So I think what I wanted to ask you about this is whether there are what are the other factors you consider essential to your success? So we talk about technology, AI, and leadership. So if we were to start there, and then, by the way, I won't go deeply into this, but Roundta is a formula that actually Warren Buffett wrote about in his shareholder letters a few decades ago. The acronym is Return on Unlevered Net Tangible Assets. So how much operating income can you draw out of your physical asset base? And Buffett highlighted companies that had above a 25% yield as being terrific. Obviously, Rubrik's number is fantastic. So we have high returns on the physical asset base, top-notch leadership, leader in AI, and top of the marketplace in technology. Are there other factors you think that we should be paying attention to with Rubrik to better understand what will determine your success going forward?
Look, Rubrik is the security and AI operations company. Obviously, cyber resilience and cyber security has been the focus of the company, and now we are helping our customers deploy more AI agents faster and manage the risk and deliver accurate responses. We acquired a company called Pertbase that delivers accurate model responses at 80% lower cost of inference. And incorporating that technology, we created a new product called Agent Rewind, where your misbehaving agent, because agents are probabilistic system or could be compromised by threat actors, cyber threat actors. So how do you have a rewind button on your agentic action that is actually a misbehaving agent? We are now delivering the complete risk and ability to deploy agents faster platform. So at the end of the day, look, as I said before, we are living on the edge of innovation. Rubrik has no finish line. We are in love with the market. We are not in love with our products. And my goal is to build a company that delivers to the emergent market needs so that our customers are at the forefront of their industry. If I do that, all of these ranking will take care of itself.
I think, although we don't want to, that we're going to end it there to respect that you probably have something next on your schedule and have gone through a very busy day today, Vipul, I know, to just be here with us. So thank you so much for your time. I'm so happy that I've found the business and have recommended the business. It's in our real money portfolio in the Moneyball system that we've created. And I'm really looking forward to learning more and more about the company and truly to learn from you and your leadership approach and style as you've articulated it. So thank you so much for sharing this time with us, and best of luck to you and everyone at Rubrik.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, John. I really appreciate the opportunity.